Welcome to Sinister Serials, where shadows whisper and every tale chills to the bone. Driller Thursday brings tales of survival, where every shadow could be your last. Dive into the depths of the mind with Labyrinth of the Unseen, this Thriller Thursday. Follow Elaine Mercer, a New York psychologist, as she deciphers a cryptic letter leading her to an abandoned warehouse and into a mysterious labyrinth. Inside, reality warps, as her patient's phobias and her own traumatic past manifest in terrifying ways. As Elaine confronts the labyrinth's creator, she must navigate a maze of psychological terror. Will she uncover the truth, or will the labyrinth claim her sanity?
And gathered up the black feather amulet. She would decipher the marking's code once more. Her frightened child self had gifted this breadcrumb trail to lead her back from the darkness. She need only follow it. Satisfied, Elaine rose and turned to go. But as she reached the tunnel entrance, doubt crept in. Had she escaped down this very passage as a girl? Or had the labyrinth only permitted her to retrieve a buried memento to better manipulate her now? Either way, she was still deep in its clutches. Resigned, Elaine walked on. If she could not fully trust her memories, let them remain locked away. She need not unravel that tangled skein to escape. The labyrinth may know her history, but it did not own her, and she was no longer a frightened little girl in search of wings. Elaine moved swiftly through the tunnels, no longer stopping to examine symbols or artifacts. She felt the labyrinth shifting around her, reshaping its fractured geometry in response to her brief restoration of memory. It was learning, adapting, and so must she. The feathers rustled in her pocket, their secret map now obscured. She had slipped the noose, but still stood deep in the belly of the beast, with no trail back to familiar terrain. Frantically, Elaine tried invoking mental catalogs. Paris's street light grids overlapping with Tokyo's, studies on fear response patterns, the chronological taxonomy of hawk species. But the labyrinth rumbled low, dissolving ordered thought into smoke. There was no foothold here for facts or figures. Elaine tasted iron and realized she was chewing her lip raw. The clinical training she had wrapped like armor around a battered psyche lay in pieces now. She longed desperately for an exit, a glimpse of sky, even a crack offering the faintest gust of outside air, but there was only the sense of sinking deeper into claustrophobic darkness. Stumbling over uneven stones, Elaine wondered with dull detachment if she would die down here. Not the true death awaited back in world of sunlit parks and bustling streets, but an obliteration of self, mind, and soul absorbed into the labyrinth to feed its sentience. She would become part of its tapestry of horrors, her own cries woven into its fabric. A sob hitched in Elaine's throat. Then she froze, cocking her head. Was that music echoing faintly in the distance? Hugging the damp corridor wall, she crept toward the sound. The tinny notes of a child's jewelry box. The song was cloying yet familiar, its plinking melody conjuring moonlit nights tucked inside a blanket tent made of sheets. Elaine's eyes widened. She knew that song from her earliest memories, a lullaby humming deep in her cells, primal as heartbeat. Hardly daring to breathe, Elaine followed the music through jagged tunnels toward a pale glow. She emerged into a small chamber where a delicate porcelain ballerina twirled jerkily atop a cracked music box. Reverently, Elaine reached to touch it, half convinced it would dissolve to smoke. But her fingers met cool ceramic, the figurine still spinning as the last strains of melody faded. Beneath twisted sharp wire coiled tight, a crudely scrawled note impaled upon it read, "I will always find you, little songbird, always." Elaine recoiled from the ominous note, its twisted wire and familiar pet name igniting long-buried instincts warning of danger. She remembered rough hands and liquor-sour breath invading the fragile sanctuary of blanket forts. And the music box notes that once promised comfort now echoed with darker intent. "I will always find you, little songbird." Elaine spun frantically, peering into shadows that pressed closer with hungry intent. She was in the spider's web now, the labyrinth's true architect revealing itself at last. Elaine's breath sawed in her throat. She thought she had fled the ghosts of her youth, building layer upon layer of clinical distance and academic armor to keep their clutching fingers at bay. But the labyrinth had tunneled under those defenses. exploiting the cracks in her psyche as entry points. The wires twisted tighter, their metal teeth eager to bite. Elaine cried out, lashing out blindly. She would not regress to the powerless victim child cowering from her tormentor. The labyrinth may know her history, but it would not claim her future. With a guttural scream, Elaine smashed the music box under her shoe, grinding its delicate workings into scrap. She tore the menacing note to confetti and cast the snowstorm of paper shreds into the air. Almost instantly, the wires loosened, retracting up the walls like spilled ink. Panting, Elaine straightened her shoulders. She had weakened the labyrinth's hold on her psyche, at least for now, but the brief triumph flickered out as darkness swelled once more. This maze knew her intimate weaknesses and would craft fresh specters to exploit them. Elaine was deep in its belly with no trail leading out, and she was so very, very tired. Exhaustion seeped into her bones, urging surrender. Elaine sank down, her back against cold stone. She had no defenses left, her compass smashed. Perhaps, if she rested a while, a path back towards clarity might reveal itself. Elaine allowed her eyes to slip closed, too spent to fight anymore. Shadows crept closer, whispering of her failure. Their voices held notes of pity now, for the little songbird who briefly dreamed it could fly free. Elaine drifted into fitful sleep, too tired to resist the labyrinth's embrace. It crooned gently, stroking her hair with a monster's tender care as it slowly, exultantly devoured her. She was home at last. Elaine drifted in a void, neither awake nor unconscious. The labyrinth had swallowed her whole, absorbing the last flickers of defiance and hope. Now she floated, weightless and formless, through its endless midnight. No words or imagery disturbed this silent limbo. Her sense of self had diffused until even Elaine held no meaning. She was nameless, faceless, her identity diluted drop by drop like ink in water. Yet in the absence of thought or sensation, another awareness emerged. Subtle at first, little more than a luminous thread. But the fragments slowly spun together, weaving themselves into gossamer tapestry giving shape and contour to the void. Elaine stirred, grasping at half-formed memories swirling lazily. There were rooms filled with angled mirrors, and red-eyed beasts that dissolved to smoke, and symbols etched upon a feather black as the abyss she now drifted through. But the images collapsed like bubbles at her touch. Frustration seeped through the dark waters. There had been so much she was desperate to recall, secrets that felt vital though their meaning remained obscured. If only she could capture one intact memory to serve as anchor and pull the rest into focus. Elaine flexed ethereal fingers, seeking anything tangible to grapple and coalesce with her fraying self. Instead, she found only the music box tune's refrain circling endlessly, its notes stretched and distorted until barely recognizable. She tried grasping the melody, winding it around herself as a lifeline, only to have it fray apart once more. Exhausted by her efforts, Elaine surrendered at last, floating limply. Perhaps this featureless oblivion was meant to be her tomb. She had only fragments of memories left now, the smell of dry autumn leaves and salt-wet hair, the discordant laughter of crows, moonlight refracting prismatic through crystal pendants. Crystal, glass, a glinting shard reflecting her fractured selves. Elaine seized at the image desperately, even as darkness moved to swallow it. The glass held figures, distorted in elegant curves. A mirror. The pale oval seemed to watch her muted struggle, its surface fluid yet solidifying. Elaine recalled mirrors subsiding to endless corridors, and spectral women plunging into hungry fog, and her own eyes reflected through fracturing glass. Cracks formed, etching her face with intricate patterns. Crimson letters took shape, scrawling a message. All your demons know your name. Reality crystallized in a scream that tore through endless night. Elaine awoke with a violent jolt, heart hammering against her ribs. She jerked upright, senses slowly orienting to the cavern gloom. She was still in the labyrinth, still lost in endless midnight with her demons, but she had a name again, and she remembered the mirrored room that first reflected her own haunted eyes. Elaine clung desperately to that piercing image. The glass had answered.
Thank you for joining us in the latest twist of the Labyrinth of the Unseen. Elaine's quest through the labyrinth's shadows grows ever more perilous, challenging her understanding of reality and self. What will she uncover next in this maze of mind and stone? Don't miss the next episode on Thriller Thursday with Sinister Serials, where the unseen becomes seen, and the path forward is as much about inward reflection as it is about escape.
Welcome to Sinister Serials, where shadows whisper and every tale chills to the bone. Join us on Macabre Monday for gothic tales shrouded in mist and mystery. Twisted Tuesday will unravel your mind with psychological thrillers that blur the line between reality and madness. On Weird Wednesday, cosmic horrors from beyond the stars will haunt your dreams. Thriller Thursday brings tales of survival, where every shadow could be your last. Fantasy Friday weaves stories of ancient magic and mythical beasts. Sci-Fi Saturday launches you into dark futures and alien terrors. And on Supernatural Sunday, ghostly whispers and paranormal mysteries will leave you questioning what's truly beyond. Step into the darkness with us. The stories are just beginning.